here, this is 1/4 inch scale, just so you know. So 1/4 inch equals a foot. So from here to over there is less than 400 feet. So 400 feet in diameter could easily fit. So if this whole thing is 400 feet in the maximum, that can easily fit on 2 acres.
So the little casita, just for a frame of reference, would be the one. That one. What's the size?
It's
of that? Like 10 by 10 or 15?
It's
by
about 14 by 18 feet.
Okay.
In the final version, it's a little bigger than in the model. We actually adjusted the sizes a little bit in our final floor plan.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's 25 feet. This is about 25 feet here in diameter. So it looks really large, but it's not as big as it.
But because it's got the feminine round curves, you're going to have more usable interior space in the
it doesn't necessarily. Yeah, you do get a little bit more. The round shape can be more usable space. Some people argue that it isn't, but I make sure that we put a lot of round shapes in here mixed with square shapes, which are more masculine. So you have masculine and feminine, and then combinations of that to create this sanctuary and this sort of protected zone. So it's a combination of the two. They both have their benefits. Square shapes are easier to build and less expensive generally to build than round shapes. But round shapes add a lot of poetry and a lot of visual beauty to the overall product. So.
And you have the blueprints for this section?
This building here, Ulu, is now completely...
is it this building or is it
the whole thing? The whole thing, yes.
And how many feet from here to here?
Well, this is 25, so 50, 75, maybe 100 feet. 100 feet from the back to the front here.
And if somebody built this on a 2.5 acre parcel and they were driving to it, where would they drive to?
The exterior, none of the interior would be for vehicles. So it keeps the poetry and the park-like feel in place. Parking would take place out here. In fact, for the Ulu building, we would do some trellis-type parking areas, so you have some shaded and protected. Maybe grow grapevines on it. I'm not really big on putting cars inside boxes that we call garages. I'd rather use a garage space for a workspace or a classroom or storage space. But exterior, I like, creating some shade and some protection for vehicles with trees, with trellises, with vines, etc. It's a little better use of we dedicate a little too much to our cars, I think. But the cars would all be parked out here. So everything, vehicles and access to the buildings would be all done around it with a street that circles the whole thing.
And again, this piece over here, go over that again, because you have this curved part. Is there a building inside that?
Yes, those are all buildings. And again, it's 1/4 inch scale, so a 1/4 inch equals a foot. So this building here is about 12 feet tall. And then, so these are all standard height buildings. It's not super tall, but it's tall enough to be comfortable to work in. And inside, this is actually where you could have indoor gatherings, much like you could have outdoor gatherings there. On a bad day or rainy day or something, you could have an indoor gathering. And then you have patios and gardens all around it. And you have an indoor cafe, and then there's patios outside the building for outdoor dining and patio dining, and it's adjacent to the amphitheater, the outdoor medicine wheel, so you could have people sitting out here and enjoying a concert or something like that. Speakers, musicians, etc. Poetry readings. You could have all sorts of dancers, all sorts of things.
So for someone that comes from Los Angeles to get a sense of how this fits into the landscape, would it be remiss to say that going to Kayenta in St. George might give them a little taste of how this would look? Am I off track on that?
No, as far as the architecture, you can see it's more of a Puebloan style. It's based on more of a desert landscape, which would be like Kayenta in southwestern Utah. But it also has a lot of North African influences, so you get and the Puebloan from the southwestern, or the Native Americans, when they built their Puebloan communities here, they were similar in design. I bring in some interesting. Some people say it looks like some of the architecture in Star Wars. So it does have some otherworldly components to it. So that's just come through. I just designed the shape here, for example, these pillars. They feel very high vibrational to me. They have a strong iconic symbol, and feels very much like oneness and unity, maybe a world peace flavor to it. But I don't always know where the designs come from, but whatever feels good, that's what I incorporate. And then inside here, you asked earlier about the gardens.
Mm-hmm.
All of this would have trails. I'm not showing that yet because I haven't reached that point. But you could have a series of trails and gardens all throughout this whole project. And you can have labyrinths inside of here. And you could have food gardens, herb gardens, and interpretive gardens where you could have native plant gardens. So people can come learn about the native plants that are indigenous to the area where one of these projects is placed.
And that you use the term permaculture for.
Yes, and permaculture is where you combine native plant species that are indigenous to the area with growing food, such as tomato or corn or peas or beans, etc. like that. So you can grow those with the sagebrush, for example, and the cactus or whatever.
Now, if you were going to have a pond in this area, where would the pond be?
You could actually put the pond wherever it fits. You can have small ponds throughout the project. You can have in-ground cisterns as well for storing rainwater, etc. But the pond, you could. This is a lot of roof space. So for every, I think for 1,000 square feet of roof space, you can collect 1 inch of rain will collect you about 600 gallons of water. So you could have ponds drained. You could have a pond right here that would capture all of this rainwater off of this roof, for example.
Now, are all these roofs on? They're flat roofs?
Yeah, these are more of a Pueblo style. So it's designed. This is specifically designed for more of a desert climate. So if we were going to do a project in a wetter climate, we would probably have more pitched roofs. And if there was a snowy climate, then you have a different kind of roofing. But this is designed more for a low rainfall climate.
Why is it flat better for the desert as opposed to pitched?
Well, it's more indigenous. It looks more natural in the desert. A pitched roof is more of a European-based design. Comes off of the snowy and the rainy climates of Northern Europe. And most of when America was settled by outsiders that were non-indigenous to this country, they brought that design with them. And so that became the normal design. So you get the Swiss and the German and the British and their pitched roofs, which was for a very wet climate and a snowier climate, brought over to, and even in the Southwest, you see a lot of that Northern European pitched roof architecture, which is not as natural looking in this climate.
So we have illogical buildings in our environment.
Yes.
Basically.
Well, we bring our value systems. Sometimes people bring their religious or their belief systems and their value systems, and that includes their architecture, into places that it doesn't fit very well.
And do you have a website?
Yes. It's worldpeacegardens.org. And we have quite a bit of information on there. We're updating it all the time. So we're working on that to bring new information. And we'll have more photos of this as the project develops and as the model gets more defined.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure learning and seeing such a beautifully, uniquely created living space. I mean, this is really awesome. Thanks. And we hope we'll be working with you, and I have some ideas that I want to discuss.
Okay.
And thank you very much. Hi, here we are at a very interesting situation. We just talked with Daniel, and he designed a building called Cayenta, which is a beautiful building. And that was the only thing that was on this piece of property. It was one building. And all of a sudden, this entire, what looks like a mall, and all these shops sprung up around that one building. So when he talks about anchoring your architectural design on a piece of property, he knows what he's talking about. Because, quite frankly, if you look at the Cayenta and think of that, it was the only thing here. And then you look around at all these places, this beautiful art gallery and everything else that got built because he built the first place. It really shows the possibilities of building these kind of architectural design buildings. So we're going to take a look around and just see. And keep in mind that there was nothing here except one building when this whole complex started. So let's go look around.